All right, friends, welcome back. We're going to be doing another reading today. So we're going to do Hancock at the end of the week. You guys have no idea the struggle it was to find the official records. For some reason, all the Confederate records are online. The federal records, however, are not. What I ended up doing, though, I ended up finding a fantastic piece of literature. It is called The War of the Rebellion. It is actually a conglomerate of all of the reports from the war. My brother actually has a copy, two hard copies of everything of the Gettysburg Campaign. The way it works is there's multiple different volumes of these, and inside them they have everything. Now, when I say everything, I mean everything. I just spent the last half hour reading the correspondence between Hooker, Halleck, and Lincoln about the invasion of Pennsylvania and Maryland. Now, the reason I like doing these is just encapsulated in why, like in the reading I was doing. You really cannot get in the minds of these men until you actually read what was going through their minds. You know, you have Lincoln saying, well, we just lost communications with Harper's Ferry, and there's reports that troops are there, so what's going on? And then it's Hooker saying, my intelligence doesn't say that yet, but let me have scouts go and I'll get back to you. Then you have Halleck saying, well, what's going on? We just had reports of from General John Buford of amassing cavalry in Culpeper. Why are they not being, why is no one behind them? It's this interesting back and forth between the civilian leadership and the military leadership. And it culminates in a letter, which I'm actually going to read today. I'm going to read two letters, actually. I'm going to read first. It's going to be from General Henry Halleck, dated June 27th, 1863, to Commander of the Union 5th Corps, my favorite, George Gordon Meade. And then I'm going to follow it with Meade's orders to the Federal Army upon assuming command. Meade did not actually assume command of the Army on the 27th. He assumed it on the 28th because there had to be an official changing over of command of the Army, obviously. So we're going to get into that. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's do this. Headquarters of the Army, Washington, D.C., June 27th, 1863. Major General George G. Meade, Army of the Potomac. General, you receive with this order of the President placing you in command of the Army of the Potomac. Considering the circumstance, no one ever received a more important command, and I cannot doubt that you will fully justify the confidence which the government has reposed in you. You will not be hampered by any minute instructions from these headquarters. Your army is free to act as you may deem proper under the circumstances as they arise. You will, however, keep in view the important fact that the Army of the Potomac is covering Army of Washington as well as the Army of Operation against the invading forces of the rebels. You will therefore maneuver and fight in such a manner as to cover the capital and also Baltimore, as far as circumstances will admit. Should General Lee upon either of these places, it is expected that you will anticipate him or arrive with him so as to give him battle. All forces within the sphere of your operation will be held subject to your orders. Harper's Ferry and its garrison are under your direct orders. You are authorized to remove from command and to send from your army any officer or other person you may deem proper, and to appoint command as you may deem expedient. In fine, General, you are instructed with all power and authority which the President, the Secretary of War, or the General-in-Chief can confer on you. You may rely upon our full support. You will keep me fully informed of all your movements and the positions of your own troops and those of the enemy. So far as known, I shall always be ready to advise and assist you to the utmost of my ability. Very respectfully, your obedient servant, H.W. Halleck, General-in-Chief, Frederick, Maryland, June 28th, 1863, 7 a.m. Letter was received at 10 a.m. in Washington. General H.W. Halleck, General-in-Chief. The order placing me in command of this army is received. As a soldier, I obey it, and to the utmost of my ability will execute it. Totally unexpected as it has been, and in ignorance of the exact condition of the troops and position of the enemy, I can only now say that it appears to me I must move towards the Susquehanna, keeping Washington and Baltimore well covered, and if the enemy is checked in his attempt to cross the Susquehanna, or if he turns towards Baltimore, to give him battle. I would say I trust every available man that can be spared will be sent to me, as from all accounts the enemy is in strong force. So soon as I can post myself up, I will communicate more details. George G. Meade, Major General. All right, so like I said, that is the communication between Meade and Halleck. Halleck at this time is the commander-in-chief, the general-in-chief of the Union armies. So that's actually a position that Grant would be put into. The difference is Halleck's more of a bureaucrat, whereas Grant commanded from the field. Halleck actually would stay on to Grant's staff and be his chief of staff while he was commander, which is ironic because Halleck actually was Grant's superior in the Western theater. But you see, this was very much so sprung on Meade. He did not expect it. He did not really want it. He really had no option. But he accepted the position with humility because it was really all you can do in that situation. And he decided, okay, I'm going to ride to Hooker's headquarters. I'm going to assume command of this army. What's my next steps? So he'll assume command on the 28th, and then on the 29th, he's going to send this letter to Halleck explaining his next moves. And that's what this letter is. Headquarters, Army of the Potomac, June 29th, 1863, 11 a.m. Major General H.W. Halleck, General-in-Chief. Upon assuming command of the army, and after carefully considering the position of affairs and the movements of the enemy, I have concluded as follows. To move today towards Westminster and Emmitsburg, and the army is now in motion for that line, placing 2 corps, 1st and 11th, at Emmitsburg, 2 corps, 3rd and 12th, at Taneytown, 1 corps, 2nd, at Frizzleburg, and 1 corps, 5th, at Union. 6 corps at New Windsor, my cavalry guarding my flanks and rear. If Lee is moving for Baltimore, I expect to get between his main army and that place. If he is crossing the Susquehanna, I shall rely upon General Couch with his force holding him until I can fall upon his rear and give him battle, which I shall endeavor to do. I have ordered the abandonment of Harper's Ferry, a detachment of not more than 3,000 to proceed with the property by canal to Washington and strengthen your forces there against any cavalry raid. The remainder to move up and join with me. The line from Frederick to Baltimore by rail will necessarily be abandoned while I move forward. I shall incline to the right towards Baltimore and Harrisburg Road to cover that and draw supplies from there, if circumstances permit it. My main objective, point being, of course, Lee's army, which I am satisfied has all passed on through Hagerstown towards Chambersburg. My endeavor will be in my movements to hold my force well together, with the hope of falling upon some portion of Lee's army in detail. The cavalry force between me and Washington, as soon as I can learn sufficiently of their movements to pursue and fight without wasting the necessary force by useless movements, will be engaged by my cavalry. Stuart's cavalry, from my best information, have divided into 2 columns, one on my right, between me and Baltimore, one on my left, through Hagerstown to join their army. my main point being to find and fight the enemy. I shall have to submit to the cavalry rail around me in some measure. The sections of artillery and small force of cavalry sent from here to Baltimore have been ordered to fall back from Poplar Springs and join General Pleasanton's force. Fall back from on my right, their route having been intercepted by enemy's cavalry. I have hastily made up this dispatch to give you the information. The telegraphic communications have been cut off. I have no opportunity to receive a reply to mine asking your advice as to these movements, and upon my best judgment, proceed to execute them. I can at present give no orders as to General Schenck's department in Baltimore or the Potomac in my rear. Neither can I in absence of a telegraphic communication, and on account of the great distance of Couch, exercise any influence, by advice or otherwise, concerning the cooperation of that force. These circumstances are beyond my control. I send this by courier, with the hope and expectation that it will reach you safely. Headquarters tonight are at Middleburg, 3 miles from Uniontown, and 13 from Westminster. There is rail communication from Baltimore to Westminster. George G. Meade, Major General. Headquarters, Army of the Potomac, June 30th, 1863, 10:45 a.m. Major General Couch. I am in position between Emmitsburg and Westminster, advancing upon the enemy. The enemy, A.P. Hill, holds Cashtown Pass between Gettysburg and Chambersburg. Their cavalry, 3 to 5 brigades, are on my right, between me and North Central. My force is tolerably well concentrated, moving with all the speed that the trains, roads, and physique of my men will bear. I am without definite and positive information as to whereabouts of Longstreet and Ewell. The latter I presume to be in front of you. The army is in good spirits, and we shall push to your relief or the engagement of the enemy as circumstance and the information we receive during the day and on the marches may indicate, as the most prudent and most likely to lead to the ultimate success. I am anxious to hear from you and to get the information of the disposition of the enemy and his movements as far as you know them. If you are in the telegraph communication or otherwise with Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, I should like supplies and shoes accumulated to be thrown to me on the line of the Northern Central or the Susquehanna, as circumstances may require or my movements may make most desirable. Please communicate my dispatch to the General-in-Chief. My communications with him are intercepted by the cavalry of the enemy on my right. Can you keep the enemy from crossing the river? Very respectively, General George E. Meade, Major General, commanding. All right, so now that's I decided to add the report to Couch as well. Darius Couch, a lot of people, if you go back to my Fredericksburg series, we actually talk about him. He was actually in command of the 1st Corps. Well, not the 1st Corps. He was in command of the 1st Division of the 2nd Corps at the Battle of Fredericksburg under Edwin Sumner. He was actually Hancock's superior commander. Winfield Scott Hancock was only a brigade commander a division commander at that time. Couch was his technical superior because back then's when they did grand divisions and then the Corps and so on. But Couch is in command of the Pennsylvania Citizen Army pretty much. Pretty much what happens is when Lee invades Pennsylvania, Andrew Gregg Curtin, the Republican governor of Pennsylvania, calls for volunteers, and the plan is to stop Lee at the Susquehanna River. Now, Couch's army does engage with Confederates. It's not Lee's main army, though. It's actually elements of Stuart's cavalry, and they get pushed back. But what's interesting about this is you see the letters, and now, again, and I said this during my Longstreet video, we have foresight, because now we know what actually happened. We've looked through all these reports over a period, and we've come to a truth of what happened during the Gettysburg Campaign, because we were able to take all the similarities from each of these reports in order to remove the conjecture and what was believed. Now, if there's something you notice about Meade in this, he's very afraid of Stuart's cavalry, and justifiably so. Stuart's cavalry was horrifying. They were the Joachim Murat's cavalry corps for Lee. They were this power that Lee used to his advantage, and Meade was well aware of that, and that's why Meade, for a period, stopped sending dispatches to Washington. He insisted on going through Philadelphia to Baltimore to Washington because he knew every telegraph line between him and Washington had already or was in the process of being cut by Confederate vedettes. So it's very interesting to see these. I'm going to continue doing these because I actually really enjoy doing these, and I think you all enjoy these a lot as well, hearing from the perspective of these gentlemen. Maybe I'll hit the Confederates up again. You get to hear my silly Southern accent again. But thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I do love doing these. These are a lot of fun. Just seeing their perspective, getting this new view on the kind of men these men were. You know, comparing these to Hooker's dispatches, then comparing it to people like Butterfield and Sedgwick and Sickles and Hancock. It's really awesome to see the different ways these men communicated. But with that said, thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and comment. If you're returning to the channel, just subscribe. Come on. Come on. You're coming back. I see the analytics. I know everyone, most of my viewers aren't actually subscribed, which is crazy to me. You guys are just returning, and I love the fact that you keep coming back to see more. But, you know, there's that little red button. Just hit it. You know, just join this ever-growing community. Thank you so much again. And please, please, if you're able to, I understand times are hard, but donate to the American Preservation Fund that we've set up. Help our national parks, help them get the funding they need. Times are hard. Sadly, national parks are the first ones that are hit by hard times. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.